I'm Zaki. Let's see. I've been in blockchains for 10 years. I used to do only tech stuff, so I did like consensus algorithms and cryptography. Then I did the go-to-market for Cosmos. Now I guess I'm like a kind of unusual person. And sometimes I do a cryptography, sometimes I make a meme, sometimes I launch an NFT collection. I've been helping the Near Foundation think about how to take these components, the relatively mature Near blockchain tech, the emerging Near AI tech, and the chain abstraction tech, and turn this into some sort of coherent whole. I'm not really laying out a vision for this. This is more like your general reminder of a regular reminder of what blockchains actually are. What does it take to win in this world? What are the interesting experiments? So that's what this talk is about. So the first and foremost thing is blockchains are social coordination technologies. What does it mean to be a social coordination technology? Social coordination technologies are basically how humans come to agreement, figure out how to operate relative to each other. It's primarily what blockchains are. And when you have, and so we tend to get lost in all of the mumbo jumbo about TPSs and L1s and L2s, and it sort of tends to distract from why we build blockchains, which was to find a new way. So we've had historical ways of coordinating socially, companies, companies, tribes, nation states, etc. Blockchains are the first new one in a long time. That's why this is an interesting space. It's trying to build social coordination through distributed databases and through cryptography as a trust mechanism. So but ultimately, what we need to make anyone use this is come up with shared stories. The optimal story is a story that are self-reinforcing through self-talk. This is what people say when they're hey, this blockchain is a cult. Because I'm sure anyone who has been in the space says such and such cult. There's the Cardano cult is kind of the classic example. Cults work best. So the optimal way is to move a story from something that is sort of disseminated in a top-down mechanism. So you have a Twitter account, you have a set of people at a foundation, you have a founder who's telling a story, to the sort of wider universe of people who have buy-in and skin in the game in the story are actually propagating the story, extending the story, and coordinating their actions through their own internal mental representation of the story. So I think that's when people sort of positively look at something like Solana, and the journey that Solana has been through for the last 2 years, it sort of has seemed to have gone through this transition from a system where people were primarily interacting with it on the basis of, hey, what are there's the Solana Foundation, their super team who are pushing out a message, to now everyone is in that ecosystem is kind of coordinating the story within themselves. So monies are the most powerful story that humans have ever created. And it is a story that is constantly reinforced through self-talk. Every time we think about, am I getting paid enough? How much money am I going to make? Trading a token into and out of a stablecoin, I'm reinforcing this concept of money. So when we try to build secure distributed systems, so blockchains, protocols, all these things, they're incredibly time-consuming, and it's really hard to iterate quickly, because you don't the cost of iterating quickly is eating everyone's money to either North Korea or the void. So this is more like building a bridge or an airplane than building a website. Narratives are the fast iteration side of this business. So they support rapid experimentation, iteration, and novelty, which are, I think, really, so some narratives took a long time. So the modular narrative. I think Ekram gave a talk at the GTM Con yesterday, where he was like, it took us a year. I helped work with him. I remember when Ekram like first came up with the word modular. He was like, this is going to be our narrative. I was like, this is smart. It took us a year to like sort of get buy-in on crypto Twitter into like the modular narrative. But it took 5 years to build Celestia. So like we definitely built the narrative faster than we built Celestia. And in general, the narrative side is like the way faster things. So like narratives are like low risk in this sense. Like you can pick a narrative, try it in the market, probably find out in 6 months or a year whether or not it has any legs, iterate on it. Whereas when you're like building secure decentralized technology, it's going to take you years typically to build it. So like these things have to happen. So your chain abstraction, your next generation DeFi, your FHE, your MPC, your TE, your stablecoin will not have any users without these self-reinforcing stories. I think like one of the things I think that is a little bit surprising to people on the tech side is in previous cycles, you kind of had these like KOLs, YouTube people. I remember this from 2021. We had this with Cosmos, right? Like we had the narratives and the stories that people that were onboarding users didn't really come from any specific place. Instead, there were these people who kind of self-appointed themselves as KOLs and sort of built these stories around your thing. I mean, you've seen that still in the cycle with like what Ansem has done for Solana. But I think in general, this pattern is not going to be the pattern going forward. KOLs are not going to create your stories around your tokens for you. And I think the next thing that we're going to see is like the commodification of narrative creation. And I think AI is basically going to do this. So the idealized crypto founder for the last few years has been the 24/7 crypto Twitter reply guy who's constantly advancing a narrative. Like Anatoly and his Twitter account is like the perfect example of this. I think we see this fully commoditized into like AI agents in 2025. Where like the idealized crypto founder is now like truth terminal, where you have an AI agent that is like constantly sort of interacting with Twitter, constantly advancing a narrative. You know, this stuff sort of works today, but I think we're going to start seeing this working in reality. And so now we're going to start seeing a world in which like all of this tech that we build is going to be armed with strong, adaptable memetics. Like there's this sort of there's this sort of thing being pushed about like sort of the dynamic, like adaptable meme coins, and like all of these AI meme coins. I think this is like generally what the future of marketing looks like in this space. And so for every piece of technology, you must have the 80 IQ version of the narrative in order for your thing to be able to take. This is like sort of the left curve, right curve, midwit meme. But the time of accidentally stumbling into this is probably long past. So that's my talk. Does anybody want to have ask any questions or chat about anything, and then I can go? Any questions? Yeah. Who is the most interesting person on crypto Twitter? See, I'm like a truth terminal fanboy. I think the most interesting person is like this art project that is like part Andy, part LLM. I think this like idea of like sort of like an AI augmented thing, like crypto founder, is like the most interesting thing going on right now. I think in general, the efforts of crypto founders to like drive narratives that are the like old way that we have done this in the past seem to be running into like more and more problems. I think like a lot of people have like struggled with this in this like last 2-year cycle, because it was like, you know, people blame the changes in the Twitter algorithm, and they were like, it's the Twitter algorithm that's preventing us from like achieving any sort of like narrative cohesion. But yeah, so like you've had all of these things that like, you know, like we went through the era of like the anon Twitter accounts, the like balloon lovers and base 16Zs, as those were the like interesting Twitter accounts. Now they seem lame. The like always online crypto founder is sort of becoming commoditized. So I think we're like ready for something new.
How important is it going to be for deeply technical founders to cater to the degen audience on Twitter?
I don't think of this as like the degen audience. I think this is like if you can't figure out a way, like because this stuff is social coordination technology, there will always be this narrative element. Like you can't just be like, look, I have solved this problem for you, use my tech. Because there are no moats in crypto. Like if you're just solving a problem and there is no narrative around you, your model is just going to be commoditized by somebody who's like, well, I've like also solved this problem, right? Like I think this is like Across is a good example of this. Like, yes, it's generic, like interrupt technology and a direct generic interrupt, like intense protocol, but it's like Hart and Brian fighting on Twitter that like gives it some mimetic bandwidth, and like maybe this will work, but there's no other moat, and like what other choice do they have? So that's kind of where I think this is going. So like, I don't know, if you have a project, go find someone to fight on within Twitter. That might be like a good model. Like you do have to like define your enemies, define your enemy, define who you're going to ignore. You have to create narrative tension. So like actually having a defined enemy is, I think, is a good model. You know, being like the thing you're against. So, you know, like Celestia did a great job of this. You know, they like created this like sort of artificial monolithic versus modular, like, you know, we're like 3 years in and everybody has agreed that there's just like all blockchains look the same in 5 years. But like, you know, that created some narrative tension and generated some momentum.
Do you think here is a blockchain for AI?
Yeah. I do. I do think Near is a blockchain. So there's a bunch of specific things I will say about that, and that's like a good way to end this, which is the last 2 years, the like ChatGPT era of AI blockchain has been like you either had a meme or you had a reality, and if you tried to combine a reality and a meme, they would annihilate each other. So like, you know, you have like Fetch, which is like a $30 billion Cosmos chain, maybe it's more today, with like doing AI agents where there are no AI agents. But like if you like added AI agents, that thing would be worth actually much less than $30 billion. I think that like right now we're like on this like threshold of moving from like crypto plus AI being purely meme to actually being like some reality to it that can be self-reinforcing. I think these AI agents like are showing the way, and I think that can feed back into each other and like make the Near blockchain for AI thing actually work. Thank you very much.